Hey, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Witty Wallet. My name is Christopher Fu, financial advisor and founder of Mavenbridge Capital, a private wealth management company based in Orange County, serving families all across the entire country. I've been a financial advisor now for nearly 2 decades. As a certified financial planner, one of my goals is to help my clients attain that elusive goal of retirement, but more so to be able to help them enjoy retirement comfortably. So it's no wonder why, when helping clients prepare for retirement, I usually get this asked all the time: Chris, how much do I need to be able to retire comfortably? I think for most advisors out there who help people plan for retirement, they would agree with me that this is probably the most common question that they get asked every single time when meeting with someone, or even when helping them through the entire planning process. So we're going to dive in and try to address and give you an answer to that question. How much do I need to be able to retire comfortably? So stay tuned. So I'm curious, for all the listeners out there, how many of you have asked that question to yourself, to your financial planner, to your friends, your family members? How much do I need to be able to retire and enjoy my life comfortably? It's a great question, right? And it's no wonder that a lot of people, as they approach and near retirement, they have this question lingering on the top of their mind. And I say that only because I believe society has done a fantastic job of training us on accumulation, right? We've been told that when you get a job, if they offer you a 401k, make sure you're saving a part of that paycheck you're getting every single month into that 401k. If the company is giving you a 401k match, your friends, your family member, the HR department will probably tell you, make sure you at least contribute the minimum percentage to ensure that you get 100% of that company match. Articles, things that we read on the news, they tell you that you should be saving at least 10 to 15% of your income to be able to retire comfortably. If you are 20, 30, 10, 15 years away from retirement and the market should take a dump, society tells us the best thing to do is to sit tight, don't worry about it, kind of close your eyes, keep working, it'll come back up. You got time. You don't need this money right now, right? That's what society has trained us to do. And for the most part, has done a very great job for most of us, right? Because it gives us the ability to be able to save and accumulate and ensure, hopefully, that at some point when we reach this great milestone of retirement, that we're going to have this pot of money to help us in retirement. However, where society, I think, has failed most of us is helping us or giving us ideas as far as what do we do once we do actually retire? How do we ensure that we have enough to be able to retire comfortably? Because retirement for most people are going to last anywhere between 20 to 30 years. And to be quite honest with you, I view retirement as the most exciting part of our lives because for most of us, we don't have to wake up every day and go to work, sit in traffic, because we spend most of our working days at work with our work family more so than we do with our own families, right? We get up, go to the office, drive there 8 o'clock, leave at 6, 7 o'clock, only leaves us with a couple hours for our family at nights and then the weekends. So for the most part, for 20, 30, 40 years of our lives while we're working, we're building, we're saving, right? We're growing. Yes, we get to go on some vacations here and there, but majority of us, we look forward to that time of retirement. It's, again, the most exciting time, I personally feel, of our lives. And so with that being potentially the most exciting part of our lives, looking forward to vacations, spending time with family, giving your time to charity, building your legacy, right? That potentially is going to be, as I mentioned, some of the best years of your life. From a financial standpoint, you're going to start to utilize your funds. So you're going to be going through a very big transition phase in your life. Because again, for 40 years of your life, you've been earning a paycheck. You had that control of being able to go to work, negotiate a salary, earn your pay, and you earn a paycheck. But the moment you retire and you no longer are working, that all changes. You no longer are earning a paycheck unless you decide to go back to work. But the whole point of retirement for most people is not to have to go back to work and enjoy their time. So, what do we do then? We no longer have control of being able to earn a paycheck. Where are our sources of funds going to come from to support our living and our fun and the most exciting part of our lives for the next 20, 30 plus years? This is the decumulation phase, right? So when I work with my clients, I try to have them think of their financial lives as if it were a business, right? And or I like to use this analogy of a mountain, climbing up a mountain. See, we're going to go through many mountains, climb many mountains in life. Climb the mountain of going to school, climb the mountain of being in a relationship and getting to the eventual point of marriage. Financially, we're going to be climbing those mountains to eventually hit a very big phase in our life, which is retirement. So as we are on our way up, traveling up this mountain, right? Like doing a physical thing, going up a mountain, it's tough, right? We are saving, we're working, we're putting in hours, we're putting in sweat, tears to our business if we're growing a business. It is a tough trek going upwards, right? And just in physical nature, if we're climbing up a mountain, we're going up against gravity. So the climb up is very tough and the climb up is very long. But when we reach that pinnacle, when we reach the very top, it is so rewarding. And that pinnacle is retirement, right? It's what we look forward to. We're looking up, we're looking towards retirement. We're going to work every single day. We finally hit the top, right? Now what? What do we do at that point in time? Well, we enjoy the ride down, right? Usually, if we go on a hike and you're on your way back down the mountain, usually it's a much easier way down. You get the help of gravity helping push you down so you're not expending as much energy. And usually the pathways to go down are a lot more simpler than going back up. So, using that analogy of a mountain, your ride going down is your decumulation phase. It's your ability to ensure that as you're going along this path of retirement, that you're going to be okay from a financial standpoint. But as I mentioned, society has done a poor job of really teaching the majority of us what we need to do, what we need to be aware of, and how are we going to go about doing that. So as a financial planner, when working with my clients, I feel it's my moral obligation to educate them and to pre get them aware and prepare them for how are they going to go about ensuring that they have enough for retirement and what is that potentially going to look like. Because a very common question that I also get when someone retires is, Chris, what do I do with this bucket of money? How do I withdraw it? How much should I withdraw? Someone told me, I read this one thing a long time ago that, as long as I draw 4% out of my 401k, then I should be okay. Right. And that's an old rule, hypothetical rule that basically says you take 4% out, you're really only taking your growth. You're only taking your earnings and your principal is left intact. It's a great concept. The thing is that the markets and your portfolio just doesn't go like this. It goes like this. So yeah, you could apply that 4% rule, but again, your adjustments and what you're drawing out will change as your portfolio balance will change. So it's a very tough rule to really stand by for most people. Because what it does not account for, besides market fluctuations, it also doesn't account for other types of variables, such as inflation, which is what we're dealing with right now, such as potential in tax rates and tax law changes, such as potential for premature death, divorce, long-term care, healthcare needs. So these are all things that, again, people need to be aware of when trying to answer that question of how much do I really need to be able to retire comfortably? So, as I mentioned, you need to start looking at your finances as if you were a business owner, right? My business owners out there, we know that cash flow is so important to the survival of our business. It's, of course, what helps us continue to make sure our business can keep operating, that we have the necessary resources for us to reinvest and continue to grow our business. So, as an individual with a family and your expenses, your family, your retirement is your enterprise. So, you need to start looking at it from a sense of a business owner. And in this case, your retirement, you need to see how much cash flow do I need to be able to retire comfortably? Yes, knowing how much of a big pot of money do you need by the time you retire is equally important. But I think what is even more important is having an understanding of what your cash flow needs will be going into retirement, and potentially what your cash flow needs might be as you go along in retirement. And what I mean by potentially is there are things that we know we're going to need to worry about in retirement, right? And as I talked about in one of my other podcast episodes about budgeting, we have our discretionary and we have our non discretionary expenses. Your non discretionary expenses as you go into retirement would be things like a mortgage. Are you going to continue to have a mortgage in retirement? If so, how long? When will that mortgage end? Once that mortgage ends, of course, you're still going to have house expenses, you're going to have property taxes, you're going to have insurance, all the necessities to continue to operate your family business is necessary. Then we have to also take a look at what are your food expenses, groceries. Do we have any car notes? Of course, if we're going to retire for another 20, 30 plus years, we're probably going to need a car maybe every 10 years or so, depending on how we drive, right? So we have to start analyzing and saying, what are all of our non-discretionary expenses, our necessities in retirement? Healthcare costs, right? We have to think about that because when you turn 65, most of us, we're going to be eligible for Medicare. And Medicare is going to a certain extent, help cover most expenses, but there are going to be expenses that Medicare does not cover that you'll need to get some additional insurance for potentially, or maybe pay out of pocket costs for vision, dental, for example, and for example, long-term care. Long-term care is something that Medicare does not cover. And long-term care, statistically, one in every three individuals, by the time we hit age 80, one in every three will need some type of long-term care, whether that is care in your home, care in a nursing facility, some type of extended care. And the cost of that care varies, of course. Here in California right now, I believe it can range anywhere between 7 to 10 grand per month. Like I said, it all depends on the amount of care that you're going to need. So what I mean by potential non-discretionary expenses, that is what I mean. We don't know what is going to happen as far as our lives in retirement, but these are unknown expenses that we need to be aware of and potentially consider and account for. Then we have our discretionary expenses, right? This is your flexible spending. This is, in a way, I like to call it your fun money. Right? Most of us, when we retire, we want to be able to travel. I know that all the commercials out there, they show retirement as drinking mai tais and traveling on the beach. I mean, let's be honest. Most of us, we're not going to be traveling every single day, every single month. for the next 30 years in retirement. But for the most of us, we do want to go out there and we do want to travel. So what is that going to cost? Do we have a goal of trying to travel once a year and do that maybe for at least 10 plus years, while we physically still can be able to go out and travel? Because it is tiring. So what does that look like? What are other discretionary or flexible expenses that we need to be considering of? Do we want to start a hobby? Is that hobby potentially going to turn into maybe a small business? These are things to think about as far as discretionary expenses. And then, of course, we have our long-term expenses. As I mentioned, long-term care, healthcare, but also your legacy, right? You may hold charity and philanthropy very close to your heart, like I do. And one of the goals that you might have is to ensure that you are able to pass on a legacy and donate money to charity in some form or fashion, right? And that's very important for you as far as your overall life plan and your retirement plan. So we need to take a look at all these various expenses in different ways. Discretionary, meaning flexibility; non-discretionary, meaning they're necessary. We need those costs to be covered. And then, of course, our wishes and our desires, our longer term, bigger goals. So when we are able to break that down and what that's going to look like in retirement, then we need to see where our cash flow is going to come from in order to cover all of these different expenses, starting with your guaranteed cash flow. So again, bringing that mountain analogy back into picture, as we reach the pinnacle of retirement and we're starting to enjoy that retirement, right? We're going to start our way down and start to enjoy the view. And what could really help us ensure that that descent is long as opposed to quick and short is, understanding where our cash flow is going to come from to cover those necessary expenses. So we have to analyze, first of all, where are our guaranteed sources of income stream going to come from? Social Security is going to be a big portion of that for most of us, right? It's a guaranteed benefit that we get, that we've been paying into as we were working, as we were going through that accumulation phase. For some of us, we might have the luxury of having a pension by working for a company that offers pensions. Pensions are becoming far and few these days. So a lot of us, unfortunately, will not have the pleasure of having a pension benefit or a guaranteed benefit like that. So then we have to take a look and see, do we have other sources of guaranteed income, like a rental income or rental property, right? As long as we have tenants in there who can help us pay the rents, we got a good rental stream of income coming in. That's great. That's perfect, right? Any other sources of income? Do we have any ownership in a small ownership in business that maybe pays us a dividend every quarter? Whatever it may be, we have to first and see, what are our guaranteed sources of income to cover our expenses, and analyze, is that going to be enough, first and foremost, to cover your necessary expenses? If it's enough, great. That means you have a positive cash flow, you have a surplus. Then you can roll the excess over to cover your discretionary, your fun money, right? Your travel cost, whatever it may be. But if there is no excess in cash flow, if there's a gap, then we need to start asking ourselves, how are we going to fill that gap? And that's where, for most of us, it's going to come from that nest egg that we've been so greatly taught to build over time, right? What you were contributing into your 401k, into your savings account, what you were investing in for the last 20, 30, 40 years of your life, that nest egg is going to help potentially fill that gap for the next 20, 30, 40 plus years. So then it becomes a very important question of, well, how do we then utilize that nest egg to the best of our abilities to make sure that we don't run out of money? And that's going to really come down, to be honest with you, a lot of careful analysis and questions that we need to ask ourselves. Do we need to consider putting a portion of that nest egg maybe into some type of guaranteed annuity that can help fill that guaranteed bucket of money income? I don't know, because again, everyone's situation is different. Or maybe we don't necessarily need that because our nest egg is so large and so big, and our gap as far as what our needs are very minimal, that based off our investment portfolio performance potential, we could outlive it and we don't need any type of guaranteed sources of income in addition to what we're getting. What I'm basically trying to say is that it's difficult from a general sense to be able to tell you what you should be doing at that point. What I am telling you, though, however, is in order to best prepare yourself, to arm yourself with the information that you need so that you can make decisions when the time comes, is again to start thinking of your retirement, to start thinking of your financial life as a business. Start analyzing and seeing how much cash flow do I need? Because as a financial planner, what I do once I get that information from my clients is I play around with that cash flow. I start to tweak it and start to give them hypothetical scenarios that they may not be thinking about. For example, I may tweak it to increase their inflation and how much they may need. So, for example, I may have a client that says, Chris, I need $5,000 a month to be able to retire comfortably. Great. I tell them, you're looking at it in today's dollars. We need to make sure that we inflate that $5,000 each and every year. So we play around and say, well, if inflation hypothetically is 5% a year for the next 30 years of your retirement versus 2% a year, what difference is that going to make? It's going to make a huge difference. And or taxes, right? We talk about taxes all the time in the planning that I do for my clients, because unfortunately, guys, taxes do not go away, right? If there's two things that are guaranteed in life, and this is a joke, but it's very true that I always, tell my clients, is two things that we cannot escape in life is death and taxes. So taxes will still play a role for most people in retirement. So how does the evolving tax laws and evolving and changing tax rates, how does that potentially impact your retirement? Because, ladies and gentlemen, tax rates do not stay the same. They change, at least for the time being. Who knows what Congress will do? But for the time being, tax rates are going to change. And we know this for a fact that come 2026, January 1st, our tax rates are going to sunset back to what they were pre-levels in 2017. So what that means for most of us is that we are going to see an increase in our tax rates. So we have to understand, well, what is that increase going to then do? How's that going to affect our cash flow? It's going to affect, for most of us, in a negative way, because that means an increase in tax. That means less in our pocket, a little bit more to Uncle Sam. So again, starting to have this mindset of looking at your retirement in terms of not just how much of a big bucket of money do I need to be able to retire comfortably, but we also need to, on top of that, look at it from a sense as a business owner, and in a sense of how much cash flow do I need, in essence, to operate my retirement each and every year for the next 20, 30 plus years. Because on top of that, we are also dealing with longevity risk. And longevity risk, right? I look at it as a great and a risk, right? It's a great thing because every day we get to be able to live on this earth and enjoy our day is truly, truly a blessing, right? And statistically, we are living a lot longer than previous generations due to medical advances, advances in medicine. And I think for most people, we're paying attention a lot more to what we're eating, to our diets. We're being more health conscious. We're doing a lot more physical activity. I see a lot more people at the gym. I meet a lot of retirees at the gym. So we're doing a great job as far as keeping ourselves healthy. And that's prolonging life, which is, like I said, a true blessing. But at the same point in time, that does put our finances at a risk if we haven't done any enough planning or consideration to account for what if we do live until we're 95 or 100 years old. Because as I mentioned on previous podcasts, I when I do my plans with my clients, I tell them, hey, I'm going to plan that you're going to live to at least age 90 to 95. And they tell me, no way, I'm not going to live to 95. I'm going to live until at least probably age 80, 82. And I tell them, like, okay, that's great, but unless you're going to do something, you don't know when you're going to pass. And so we need to be honestly realistic and consider, how does longevity risk affect our overall question of how much do I need to be able to live and retire comfortably. So again, I would say first step, if this is a question that you're thinking about, is you have to start thinking of your retirement in terms of a business and in terms of how much cash flow do I need to cover all the things that I want to be able to do and enjoy your retirement for the next 20, 30 years. And so with that, I want to end this episode and let you guys know that this is a first of a series of episodes covering this question: how much do I need to be able to retire comfortably? Because I think when it comes to giving you the knowledge and the education that you need, I cannot cover it all in one particular episode because there's so many nuances that we need to be considering. As I mentioned, Social Security is going to be a guaranteed source of income for most of us. And the question that I get asked all the time is, should I take Social Security as early as possible? Because you never know. I might die tomorrow, so I want to enjoy at least a little bit of it. You'll be surprised how many times someone tells me that. Or should I wait until age 70? Because I was told that if I wait until age 70, I get an 8% increase on my Social Security benefits once I hit full retirement, which is true. You do get a free increase, which is great. It gives you a bigger source of guaranteed income. The question is, can you afford to do that? Again, we got to look at everything from a cash flow standpoint. So in the next few episodes coming up, again, I'm going to start talking about different topics, things that you need to be aware of as we're going down that descent of that mountain, that greatest period, the most exciting part of our lives, retirement. And so if you guys found this information useful, which I hope you did, please, leave me a comment. And more importantly, pass this information, pass this episode along to someone else who you might think could benefit from listening. Like I said, my passion is to educate folks on things that they need to be aware of, because I feel that society, again, has not done a great job, especially when it comes to this most important area of our financial life. Now, if you guys are interested in getting more information, or perhaps maybe you have some questions now on the top of your mind that you want to maybe address and ask me, please let me know. I offer to all people a 15-minute quick chat just to address simple questions that you might have on top of your mind. And if you want to take that further, I extend that to a 1-hour consultation meeting. It's important for me to make sure that I put this information out there so that you guys can make the right informed decision, because I know that information literally is available at our fingertips. We can literally look on our phone and type in whatever we're looking for the answer, and we can get it. So resources, we have an abundance of that. And that's not the issue that most people are faced with. It's more so resourcefulness. It's more so finding the answers or the help that you may need specifically to your own situation, and finding the experts who can actually help you with those questions, those concerns that are most pressing for you. So that's why I love doing these podcasts. That's why I love putting this information out there, because I know that there's a lot of individuals out there who need information like this. But I also know that when it comes to your situation is unique. So, as I mentioned, if there are things that you are concerned about, things that you want to address, please reach out to me. I would love to chat with you. And to do so, go ahead and visit mavenbridgecapital.com. That's MAVEN, bridgecapital.com. On our site, you're going to find a lot of valuable resources, a lot of articles that I've published talking about different things that I feel are important to be addressed, that are common questions that I get asked a lot. There, you'll also be able to sign up for our newsletters and set an appointment with me. And like I said, if you're interested in a consultation meeting, please go ahead and fill that out. There's no obligation. For me, the more I can help people, the more I can answer someone's question to make them feel more confident and secure in their lives, it's my moral obligation. So I want to make sure I pose that out for you guys. So until our next episode, where we're going to continue our conversation and try to answer the question, how much do I need to retire and live comfortably? I'll talk to you guys soon. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Again, my name is Christopher Fu, financial advisor, founder of Maven Bridge Capital, and I hope you guys have a great day. Thank you.
Securities offered through Kestra Investment Services, LLC, member FINRA, SIPC. Investment advisory services offered through Kestra Private Wealth Services, LLC. An affiliate of Kestra is Maven Bridge Capital, and Kestra Investment Services are not affiliated. Kestra is, and Kestras do not provide tax or legal advice. The opinions expressed in this commentary are those of the author and may not necessarily reflect those held by Kestra Investment Services, LLC, or Kestra Advisory Services, LLC. This is for general information only and is not intended to provide specific investment advice or recommendations for any individual. It is suggested that you consult your financial professional, attorney, or tax advisor with regard to your individual situation. Comments concerning the past performance are not intended to be forward-looking and should not be viewed as an indication of future results.